Hey guys, welcome to the Grumpy Magic the Gathering podcast, where we talk about Magic the Gathering and the Gathering stuff. I'm Jay.
Uh, I'm I'm Steve in this scenario, I guess.
Sure. They're releasing another Magic book.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. Did you not hear? I asked you earlier if you heard about the books they were releasing.
Yeah, but I was feigning ignorance for the audience.
Oh, okay. My bad. Let me play along. Yes, they are releasing another Magic the Gathering book for Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, I hope it's Zendikar.
Sadly, unfortunately, to great disappointment, it is not. It
Oh,
is
what is it?
it is
Theros
in
2?
uh no, I think they already released that one. It is in fact Strixhaven,
Oh,
which is a newer Magic the Gathering set of which there's no lore, like there's really not years worth of lore for Strixhaven. It's just
no,
something that
no, there was. There was like 7 movies made in like a hit book series.
oh right, yeah.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
billion-dollar franchise. I mean, I'm just
Oh
I'm just
yeah,
surprised
what was I
now that
thinking?
they've gotten part of it.
Yeah. Jeez, I didn't even think of it in that context, but yeah,
It
yeah, it
it
is.
is absolutely that context. Strixhaven has different you go to a magical school where you get sorted into your magical school group, and then you have wacky adventures with your magical school group friends. It's fucking Harry Potter. It's
Yeah,
Harry Potter in
yep.
magic.
I
It
actually went and looked through all of the Strixhaven cards, and there's a teacher for each of the five colors from Magic. Like, yeah, it's very Potter esque.
I mean, nothing to say the set is bad. Everyone loves the set, plays the set. So obviously Harry Potter does great, and that kind of mentality works well. And
Yeah,
this will honestly just let them have a Harry Potter D&D setting that's not Harry Potter.
I mean, I'm all right with them releasing the book and all. It's just fans of Magic: The Gathering would have definitely preferred some other settings.
I
Yeah,
don't think so. I don't really think there's any out there that are clamoring for.
really. Yeah, because you definitely didn't name, Zendikar or anything like that.
Well, Zundikar's already technically been released.
Not really. I mean, they did the DM, what was it, shit, the website, but where they sell all the D&D shit. They
No,
released,
no,
like, info on it, but they haven't released a book on it.
it wasn't they released a book. It was a pamphlet done by I
Right.
think the Magic the Gathering team.
Yeah,
But
it is official. It's just
yeah,
it's like 4 pages as opposed to, 150 or 200 from a book.
I mean, it's just a very condensed campaign guide. Um, those worlds really didn't need it because you have your characters out there already, and really, what are you going to add? I mean, you wouldn't add a campaign book; you might add an adventure book.
I don't
Um,
know, maybe you could add stats for all of the monsters,
well, I mean, they
of
basically
which there's a
said this is
lot of
that,
them.
this
You
is
could also
that.
add some spells, yeah.
Yeah, but they better save it for the Harry the Potter set.
I guess, which, I mean, yeah, maybe they'll do that. I don't know.
But people like Strixhaven, but this book wasn't just greenlit overnight, so obviously they've been working on it for a while.
Sure, yeah.
Um,
I mean, they're
so
just
that's good.
trying I think they're doing it because they are trying to tie in their D&D with current Magic: The Gathering stuff, as opposed to things from 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah,
despite the popularity of the things from 2 or 3 years ago.
yeah. It's not like their new Zendikar set just came out last
Right,
year.
yeah. Who knows if I'm sure another Zendikar set will come out, but it may be a decade before it happens.
The only thing people cared about was Eldrazi. Those were cool,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
so yeah, new book. I'm not gonna pick it up. I didn't pick up Theros. I don't think.
I didn't either.
Um, because for me, they're gonna have a couple classes and whatnot. I'll probably buy it on D&D Beyond just to have it, have
Yep.
that access there. I'm not gonna ever run a campaign in that setting.
Yep. I picked up Ravnica when it first came out because it was the first Magic: The Gathering D&D book that had dropped, and I actually did try to run a campaign there. Ravnica is also one of my favorite Magic the Gathering settings, so I was reasonably familiar with
Yeah.
a lot of the info in it. But unfortunately, as campaigns do, it got sidetracked after a few sessions.
I'm interested in seeing whether or not they're actually going to do more D&D settings because I get that they're trying to, you know, now that Wizard of the Coast is kind of its one whole entity that it handles card games and D&D and board games and video games and stuff like that. I get that they're trying to tie their products together
Yeah,
and, you know,
smart. I
bank
mean,
off
it's
a few
smart. Yeah,
markets.
it's good for the business. It's good for the company.
Yeah. But it's just, I mean, it's next month. It's just next month, and that stupid set comes out, and Dritz becomes a planeswalker, and uh, that
You know
those
he's not a.
doors open up forever.
You know he's not a planeswalker, right?
He didn't release him.
Yeah, they've already released him, Bruner, a couple of the others. No, Drist is he's exactly what I said he'd be. He's a green white legend.
Let me see.
I'll give you a moment to search it up for yourself. That way you know I'm not bullshitting you.
Oh, okay. So Lolth is a planeswalker.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what they're doing with him then,
Yeah,
which
he
is really
is.
weird because in the last book he's not that anymore.
Well, people have also been reading novels about him for 30 years, so they're
Okay, but when he's an interdimensional godlike being, you would assume they would.
many people have read the latest book.
Well, figure the next one comes out in August. I'm pretty sure a lot.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people just like me who play Magic who have read the first dozen books or so and never read the later books. I know him as as a ranger slash rogue fighter.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't pick the better card art for him. Holy crap!
Yeah, it's not the best art by any
That
means.
is that is the worst photo you could have picked for Dritz and his Panther ever. The
Oh, wait,
comic
wait. Well, hang
card.
on. Make sure of which one you're looking at because there are multiple
No,
card
I'm not
art.
talking about the showcase frame is perfect. I love the showcase frame. That like old D&D style drawing that they have of them for all the showcase frames. Those are really cool. I really like those a lot. But the one that where he's basically jumping and he's got his two swords back and the Panthers right next to him.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
just it's just so muddled and so muddied.
It
Like
looks honestly,
it's
it looks like art from his books from the 90s.
no, that's a bit. I know that picture. That's a huge picture. Like there's a lot more stuff going on in that picture,
Yeah.
and they just cropped out a small part of it. Ugh. Lolth looks fucking fantastic though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good art. I don't
Her
know.
borderless frame is amazing looking.
Yeah, I don't. There it is. Yeah, I
Wow.
hate and love the fact that they're doing that with all the cards. By the way, we need to quit talking about Magic here shortly and get on to D and D.
This is D&D now. We just discussed how this is now D&D. So
Uh, yeah, yeah. The fact that they're releasing two or three or four different types of every Magic card that matter now. I like it, and
oh,
I also hate it. So,
she's such a crappy planeswalker.
nah, nah, not even remotely.
She just turns a 1/1 into an eight life loss essentially.
Well, maybe her ult is not good, but
Yeah. I mean, creating two tokens with menace and reach is good.
yeah.
Um, Drawing a card, losing one life is cool, especially since it costs zero.
And every time a creature dies on your
Yeah,
side, you put a loyalty counter on her, which is amazing.
yeah, that's a neat effect. But her -8 is just, eh. I mean, it matches the theme, but it's just very,
Yeah. Either way, I mean, it's you could easily win a game using that
yeah.
ult just because. Hell, I need to get a copy of this when it comes out. Put it in my squirrels deck. I'll sacrifice a bunch of squirrels every turn and just do 8 damage every round.
Yeah. We'll link to the cards. We got the link up here for the website we're
No, we
looking at. I
won't. We
Yes,
never
you
do.
will. I know, but you got to start doing that because we keep saying that we will and we never do it. So now I gave you
Yeah,
a
we'll,
link.
we'll put the link in the Discord. No, we won't.
No, put it in the post.
But yeah, yeah, that set comes out here very shortly, as well as another book. You know about this one? I'm assuming.
No, what is it?
Shit, what's the name of it? You, we've been talking about it forever.
It's Wild Beyond the Witchlight, a Feywild adventure.
That yeah, I'm trying to find the name of it. Wild
Wild
Beyond.
Beyond the Witchlight, a Feywild adventure.
Wild. There it is. Wild Beyond the Witchlight. I hate it. I already fucking hate it.
Well, I mean, they're mentioned pretty heavily in the Domain of Dread, right? Book.
Are they? I have not seen the Domain of Dread book.
Um, I have it. I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at it, but I'm pretty sure they mentioned that carnival in the Domain of Dread book,
Oh, I don't even
and
hate the carnival.
and essentially it's just that carnival is attached to the Feywild, and everything's going to revolve around that carnival evil thing.
Okay,
And
so
I guarantee you, Ashley Warren's going to be a part of this because she did a whole uh, Helvecna book that
oh
who
yeah.
her which is basically a dark carnival. So I know that all the people that worked on her stuff is going to be involved in that.
Well, that's awesome. I hope she
Yeah.
is. I still am going to complain, obviously not about her work or anything, but I am going to complain just in general because that's kind of what we do on this podcast anyway.
All right, go
So,
ahead and complain.
all
What's
right,
wrong with it?
my, my two biggest complaints are one, do we really need another goddamn adventure?
Yes.
No, no, we don't. Give me a
Yes, we do.
book. Give me a book with detailed information about the Feywild. I want races. I want class options. I want magic options. Give me
Okay.
more magic items. All Feywild based. That's what I want. That's what most players, I think, want. I know all of my players want that. None of them,
Remember,
not a single one of my players want another adventure.
remember, there's 3 books coming out later this year.
Well, that's
Okay,
fine.
these are 2 of the 3.
Well, I certainly hope that the third one is a Feywild book exactly like I'm asking for.
I mean, I'm not sure what this Feywild adventure book is going to have. It may have some,
It's another
Feywild.
adventure, therefore it's going to be another Mad Mage, another Icewind Dale, another. It's going to be another adventure.
Yeah, but it really depends because like Theros is an adventure book. Well, no, it's a campaign book.
Yeah, that
What am
is
I
not.
thinking of? Um, Maybe it's Baldur's Gate that has the cool extra classes in it and stuff like that. Um,
Sword Coast had a couple of things in it, but Sword
yeah,
Coast was not an adventure book. It was actually a campaign setting book.
but but there
It was
hasn't
also really early.
but there hasn't been a campaign book since Icewind Dale.
Yeah, we don't need them.
We need
I'm
another one. There hasn't been any in 2021, so they need another one.
I don't I mean, I know there are people who run them, but I have no use for them. Icewind
I'm
Dale
running
was
it.
Icewind Dale was the first one and the only one I ever ran, and it's probably the last one I'll ever run. I do homebrew. Like these
Right.
books are useless to me.
Well, I mean, on
Maybe
one hand,
yeah,
you're going to get a lot of Feywild stuff. Okay.
of which I can
On the
use very little of it.
No, because you don't know what really is in there. Um, the Feywild Heroes book and the other source that I looked up while crafting my Feywild adventure, both Feywild campaign setting books, all right, have no information about the Feywild in it.
Well, that makes
Like,
them absolutely useless.
and that's the problem that I'm running into is they're all just absolutely useless to kind of get a lot of good information. I guess I have to go older and deeper, but then like how old is that information compared to like the current generation
Well,
of
like
the
truthfully,
books and shit?
I don't know that there's ever been a Feywild book released other than the one from fourth edition that you told me about.
Yeah.
Like
No, there's one in second.
I don't remember it. It doesn't mean there wasn't one. I mean, that was like so long ago. I definitely do not remember one from second. But yeah, that's my biggest issue with it. I mean, I certainly hope that maybe they'll just take the first half of the book and just detail out information about the Feywild that would be usable.
I mean,
I'd
that's
be
that's
more okay with that.
I kind of feel this is going to be a lot like that, like Waterdeep, for example. That even though it's an adventure book, it's pretty much here's how to build a city.
Mhm.
Here's everything you need to know about Waterdeep. I mean, the second half of the book is just information about Waterdeep, so maybe they'll have something more like that.
Yeah, I certainly hope it does. I wouldn't count on it. I know for sure it's going to have some information about the Feywilds that probably isn't out there. You know, every one of the campaign settings does. I mean, even the Icewind Dale one had a lot of information about Icewind Dale.
Yeah, and also remember too is like the lost my thought. Uh, crap.
Goodbye, thought.
I
Ni-
hardly knew ye.
nice knowing you, ever so
Oh,
briefly.
I mean the UA races are still out there, so they're gonna get published in something. This is the only Feywild thing to get
Sure.
published.
Yeah. 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 That's. Yeah. I'm sure they'll probably. I say I'm sure. There's a good chance they'll do that.
Yeah.
So
So that,
my second complaint, real quick. Have you seen you've seen the cover art for it? I'm assuming.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Why is there a guy in a three-piece suit with a fucking top hat and a like a pocket watch? Is the
because
Feywild not a
because
fan?
he's
Is it
because
not
he's the
fucking?
headmaster.
But it's medieval setting.
He's the headmaster of the carnival.
Are we now in the Victorian era? Like,
He's the
what
headmaster of the
is
carnival.
Sherlock Holmes going to show up and start saying the words "indubitably, Watson"? Like,
He's the headmaster at the carnival.
no, this is the wrong. It's so the wrong time period. I understand it's a fantasy setting, but Forgotten Realms, which is where all of their shit takes place, that is, it's a medieval setting. It's not Victorian era.
Well, it's the Feywild, so you don't really know.
It's a it's a medieval setting. Uh,
Right, the Faerun is in a medieval setting. The Feywild is Victorian steampunk. You don't
uh,
know. It could be in this book.
I can't, I mean, look, I complained about the fact that they had fucking devil engines in whatever. Yeah,
Baldur's Gate, yeah, the best thing
yeah,
ever.
yeah. The worst thing they've done in D&D.
I mean, I think it's just bet. I like Mad Max in Hell. I don't know why you don't like Mad Max in Hell, but
Because
sure,
it's not a
whatever.
medieval. It's not medieval. It's not.
But
To
it's
me,
not in the Faerun. It's in
it's not.
Avernus.
To me, it is not the true D&D setting. It's just not. If they did that in Eberron, I would have zero issue with it because Eberron is all about that shit. It's like they've
Well,
taken Eberron and thrown it in Forgotten Realms.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but they are building a train all the way from Neverwinter down to Cholt.
Well, I guess I could. I mean, I can complain all I want, but it doesn't matter because I don't fucking run Forgotten Realms anyway. I'm just
It's called
complaining to complain.
it's called the Sword Coast Express.
It is the old man in me coming out to quit changing the shit I love, even if I don't actually do anything with the shit that I love.
It's called the Sword Coast Express, and they believe that the train is haunted. Um,
Already?
people
How's
with
it
red
already
fezzes
haunted? They haven't even finished building it.
keep showing up and like messing around with stuff. So no one knows what's really going on.
Red Fezzes. Is that the Red Wizards if they fucking around?
No.
Is it a joke I'm not getting? Is
Yes.
it an Oriental Express thing
Yes.
that I'm okay?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've never read the book, never seen the movie, know nothing about the Murder on the Orient Express. So,
No, it has nothing to do with the murder on the Orient Express. It's the Cthulhu book, the Orient Express.
oh, well, I'm not familiar with it. So,
Well, well, maybe we should play that on stream. People might enjoy it.
I'd be down for it. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
You gonna run
Speaking
it?
of stream, no, because I want to play it. I actually want to finish it because other people don't like it when I kill the big bad boss in one round and
Oh, right, yeah.
G quit the game. And
Well, we'll have to find somebody else to
wham.
run it for us.
Speaking of running games on the stream, my Frostmaiden stuff is over.
Yep. Now I know we can't talk about it too much,
Right.
but
It
But
was it was an ending. I don't think anyone liked it.
you don't think anyone liked any of your stuff?
That's true. I don't think anyone liked it.
I'm sure
I
everyone liked it.
I know my wife didn't like it.
Did she tell you as much?
Yes.
Oh well,
Um, she felt that everything was very anticlimactic at the end.
that
Like,
happens. That's campaigns for you.
yeah, and I get that, and I see it in retrospect, and we'll talk about this in our um,
All Icewind Dale.
our
Yeah,
subscriber only whatever podcast that we do, however we want
yeah.
to name them.
If we ever get around to this, yes,
Um,
we are going to do a podcast here very soon though, where we just talk Icewind Dale since we both ran the thing.
yeah. Um, and I can kind of see it in retrospect how it was kind of very it was very kind of heavy handed. So one thing that I did, and this is unique to my game and my game alone, was one of the players had died, and I had um, entered him into a contract with a demon lord who I won't mention because that is part of the campaign setting.
Right.
And
Devil Lord, by the way.
yeah, well, yeah, I know. And I kind of used that as like a secondary antagonist for everything that was going on. Okay. And I changed a couple things in Frostmaiden to kind of make more sense for me on the back end. So on the back end, I saw this really cool story kind of like evolve and play out. And they weren't aware of it at all. And it was
Yeah.
great. And, I had a contract. I actually gave the player the PDF. I had the invisible ink on it. So, like, he couldn't read exactly what the horrible stuff in the contract was.
Right.
And eventually, I enacted one of the secret clauses in the contract, which was at any time, this Devil Lord could possess the player to make sure that the mission gets completed. And there just happened to be a moment where the player and the MacGuffin that he needed were separate from the player base. So I had him enact that possession, grab it, and run away, teleport and all that stuff. Just zip out of there with it. And that concluded the game because he was able to get away with MacGuffin and cause the thing to happen.
Right.
Um, but the players were very smart. They tried to like just go down with the ship and force like a nuclear explosion to kind of happen. Um, it was great, and I gave it a chance to happen. Um, and I don't know, I just kind of felt like, okay, you're here now. All right,
Didn't quite live up to the ending that you were hoping.
yeah, yeah. So I felt terrible. Um,
Campaign
and
ending campaigns, that's one thing I don't know that we've ever really talked about on here, but ending campaigns can be difficult, uh, and it absolutely can be anticlimactic, you know. The When I ran the Hobtown campaign the first time, I ended the campaign with pretty much with a reasonable bang, I thought. But
yeah,
my players weren't done. They had some other shit they wanted to do. So I then ran another game session after the finale. That I told all my players, the campaign's over. You had the ending. This other shit
yeah,
that you want to do, I'm just running it because you want to do it.
yeah. And there was we definitely ran long. The session was like 40 minutes extra. And a good 20 minutes of that, 30 minutes of that was basically the players kind of like saying what happened to their PCs in this new world, you know.
Okay. Yep.
And it was, they tried to do some things, but they just got overwhelmed by, you know, more powerful people than them,
Yeah.
you know. But the final fight happened early. I actually rolled on the uh
Yeah,
random encounter
that
table.
was one of the things about that campaign. The timing on things could be really just weird.
Well, I rolled on the random encounter table and rolled the end boss again. So I was
Right,
just
yeah.
like, you know what? screw it, I'm gonna have it happen again because you know what? He's out for blood, and it's gonna have to happen anyways. So I thought it was kind of cool to have it happen when it did, but
Yeah. So
I,
effectively, your ending did happen. It might not have even been anticlimactic. It just happened earlier than intended.
well, I had planned a whole nother real like end fight
Yeah.
with one of the NPCs in the book and the previous player that had played with her NPC that left the
Right. Right.
group, or
Right.
her PC that left the group. I had a fight planned for that. They just never chose to kind of like pursue them, because they had moved their troops from point A to point B. They kind of just like watched and let that happen. They didn't interfere with them at all. And so when they were kind of like surrounding the MacGuffin Prime, waiting for the other MacGuffin to show up, they just never encountered them. So
Yeah.
I had that trailer that I put out with one of the bad guys in it, and
Yep.
they never fought her. They never encountered her. They never fought her at all.
Yeah. I mean, it is possible. Icewind Dale is it's sort of written that way, where it's possible to just not actually encounter some things,
Yeah. So it was just,
as well as you were kind of off doing your own version of Icewind Dale too. So I'm not even sure how that would fully work within the scope of things.
I
We
really
can,
do hope that they enjoyed it. I think that they did.
at,
Um,
at the very least, they enjoyed the campaign.
yeah. I can't kind of joke. It's like, yeah, we could actually play it right next time and not have evil characters.
Yeah, how about that? Because
uh,
that campaign is definitely not written to be evil.
uh, I definitely wrote it that way.
Well, yeah, you wrote it that way. The campaign itself, as written, is not intended to be played as evil characters. Although they do give mention at least a couple times of of situations where you could take the evil route.
Yeah. So I mean, it's there. It's over. I enjoyed it, and like I said, the Owl campaign is coming up soon. I've been working on my Gravity Wizard.
Yeah, I know. I haven't even hardly talked to you the past week or so. I'm sure you've been working most nights on that.
I'm gonna load up a soundboard of just Sigma emotes, and so when he actually talks, it's just gonna be like craze gravity related. No, no, it just the math doesn't add up. And the simulacra just gonna be standing there like, he's okay.
Yep, just fucking
He's fine.
just Sigma yelling, "Sing for me!"
Uh,
Uh, I like it. No, you should definitely do that. Do it on stream, by the way. I want to. I
I,
want. I
it will
want
be
those.
streamed.
Yeah,
I don't know how we're gonna do it.
yeah. I want clips of Sigma's voice every time you cast a gravity spell.
No, no, the equations are all wrong. Blah. I think I was putting him together today, and um, so a lot of the untalked about developments of a character when you're building one for D&D is the physical characteristics. So this is a Locatha, or like a fish person, okay,
Right.
and I have power over gravity. So these are my physical characteristics: hair, none; skin, green scales. All right, eyes, gravity.
Uh,
Because in the model that I have of him, his eyes are just purple gravity swirls.
oh, okay. That's cool.
Height, height 4'6", weight 0.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you he's like Sigma, he just floats everywhere.
Age anywhere from 0 to 99 years. Because if you can affect gravity, you can bend time.
Yes, to an extent.
Yep. Gender,
Meh.
fish,
Fish.
fish. Because I honestly don't know how Bocathas reproduce. I assume they do the thing that um the is it seahorses or sea slugs, where they just fence with their penises, and whoever gets stabbed becomes the sperm recipient and lays the eggs.
I'm down for this. Actually, that needs to be how they reproduce. If nobody's written it up, that is now canon to me.
And so, I was still kind of developing this character, trying to figure out what his mannerisms would be, other than just, copy and pasting Sigma.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the personality traits, and I picked the one that says I speak slowly when talking to idiots, which almost everyone is compared to me.
Yep.
And then ideals, I have no limits. Nothing should fetter the infinite possibility inherent in all existence. You know,
Are
because
you sure
gravity.
are you sure you're playing Sigma or are you playing Moira?
Well, it's. I figure that's Sigma-ish. Gravity,
Yeah.
black holes.
Just the
Uh,
nothing should impede the science. That's
yeah,
very, very Moira.
it's very Sigma though too.
Somewhat, yes.
And in case anyone's like lost, this is Overwatch characters we're talking about. Sigma's a
Yeah.
guy who controls gravity, creates black holes, and throws them at people.
And Moira is a scientist with zero scruples.
And is a weeb.
Yeah, that too.
The bonds I have. My life's work is a series of tomes related to a very specific field of lore, gravity.
Yep.
And unlocking an ancient mystery is worth the price of a civilization, because when you have to make a black hole, you got to do it in a lab, and labs need funding, and funding only comes from cities. So I kind of developed the character after looking at all the personal characteristics, and I was actually doing something similar to that with the Owl campaign on last Friday night, as I had all of their um, like flaws and bonds and mannerisms and stuff all kind of opened up. I was trying to follow the DMG like almost as a baseline, just because I've never done it that way before,
Sure.
and just to kind of see how things worked out. So there's a list of things that the DM's Guild, sorry, the Dungeons Master Guide gives you as like these are the things you need to populate if you want to have a very detailed character. And
Yeah.
then they have an associated table for each of them. And it's very similar to the player's personality bonds, flaws, ideals, and stuff like that.
Yep.
Um, and so I was going to read off that little list here. The first one is occupation and history, and then it goes appearance, abilities, talent, mannerism, interaction with others, useful knowledge, ideal, bond, and flaw or secret. So I actually, while I was doing this, um, I have like Lockhart. He's a barn owl,
Okay.
and he's for occupation history. I gave him like he's a town drifter, using the most of his charisma to mooch off the townsfolk. However, he always lends a hand when needed and keeps watch over the town in the off hours. Originally, I said at night, but one thing I learned from the books is the Feywild's always in twilight. There really isn't a nighttime there. It's not
Yep.
really a daytime there. So he just like the off hours, whatever those are for owls in the Feywild.
Huh.
Um, for appearance, I said just said see image. I have pictures of different owls that I'm using as reference.
You better be
Um,
using Owl from Winnie the Pooh.
no,
Come on.
ability. So for abilities, they have basically a high table and a low table. And I was saying, okay, well, I need one from each. And then I kind of realized later, I really don't need a low. Like Lockhart's a very charismatic person, so he has very high charisma, and they have like a description of what high charisma means. Like he's talkative and he's a face of the town. Doesn't mean his actual charisma score is high, but as a character on the sheet, he's one of the players will interact with a lot, kind of like Volo. You know, obviously their charisma score is going to be higher, but it doesn't really need to be. He just has a lot of charisma, and he's very lazy, so I just gave him low wisdom.
Sure.
For talent, there's a huge list of stuff like a D100 table for that, and I was just picking out what I liked. So I picked musical instruments, several languages, and juggles
So what kind of
because
musical instrument?
I honestly don't know what
Hmm.
musical instrument would an owl play. I think like a moonshine jug that kind of works for them.
I think I've seen that before. Uh, I don't know why I think I've seen that. Maybe it was from it might have been from Winnie the Pooh or some shit.
Mannerisms was kind of a lot like abilities to me, but um, prone to singing, whistling, and humming quietly. making constant jokes or puns. Um, I guess that kind of relates to like why he uses his high charisma or how he uses it a lot. I wanted him to be a mooch in the town, but people still like him because he's always helping people. And they're like, well, yeah, if you just come over and help me like debranch my house, I'll give you dinner. And he's like,
And
oh right, love you for it. you know,
yep.
that kind of thing. Finger guns.
Bang, bang,
Um,
bang, bang, bang.
Interaction with others, friendly and honest. Useful knowledge, blank. I don't know what they could put for useful knowledge for him. Uh,
How to mooch off of townsfolk.
Maybe, but they have later on, which is down at the very bottom of the list, which is flaw or secret. And for flaw or secret, I put something in there I'm not going to read off because I want it to be a plot
Right,
point,
yeah,
and I
those need to be
think,
found out.
yeah, and I kind of changed it already too. But useful knowledge and a secret, I know they're not the same thing, but they kind of overlap quite a bit.
They can,
I
yeah.
His ideals are charity and freedom, and his bonds are holds the town in high regard. I use that a lot.
So I just want to point out you went through this entire process. You have already gone leaps and bounds beyond what the vast majority of players do when creating characters. Uh, Most people they will do the bonds, ideals, flaw, etc. because that's sort of it's in the player's handbook. It's part of the character creation, but it's pretty rare where players actually play to those ideals and stuff. Most people have a generalized idea of what they want their character to be, and the character will sort of unfold itself as they start playing, especially for campaign. So
Yeah,
those bonds and ideals, they typically are just sort of thrown out the window after about the third game.
one of the problems I have as a DM is I don't do NPC interaction well.
Mhm.
All my bartenders are named Steve, and
Yep.
when they're always like happy go lucky, like yeah, how's it going, kind of thing. They're all the exact same thing.
My,
So
my
this is
player
more,
my my players met a cleric this weekend whose name was Steve. I get it.
yeah. So this is more an exercise for me to develop these characters in my head and how I want them to go because I
Okay.
don't want their roles overlapping at all.
Now these are NPCs. This is an NPC or a PC that you're making.
All NPCs.
Okay. So yeah, the one that you just described. So the method I typically take with NPCs, and I'm actually in the process of creating a shitload of them right now for my own campaign. I think I've got it pulled up. Nope. But I figure out their name. I figure out what sex they are, what race they are. If they are a class, I figure that out. And then I give them like 3 or 4 little defining things.
Hmm.
So defining things could be a scar across the eye or one eye, wears an eye patch, things like that. It can be things likes jewelry, uh, hates the color purple, just little things. And then I will also typically give them some sort of a role play trait, gruff, friendly, uh, enjoys humor, things like that. And
Yeah,
with these aren't they're not super detailed, but these are things that if they meet this NPC, I have at least a little bit of a something to work off of. And
yeah,
I can role play gruff, I can role play friendly, I can role play suspicious, so forth. That's pretty easy to do. But if you go into too much detail on it, it makes it a little harder because then you actually are truly having to uh, portray the character. You're really having to think of all, these 6 different things that this character cares about.
yeah.
You don't have enough time to get into NPCs that in depth usually.
I definitely don't know who they're going to latch on to either. You
Mhm.
know, like I had actually created one called Talabu. I can't pronounce my own character names.
I do it all the
Uh,
time.
hmm,
No worries there.
it's Tali Abu. Tali Abu.
Aliabu, got it.
And initially she was a town sage, and she was going to be the mystical one that kind of leads them on their quest. Like, hey, you should go off and do that. You should go off and do this. The trees are sick or stuff like that. And then when I was kind of going through and uh, specking out a previous character, I was like, you know what? It would make sense not to have some. Not, it would make sense to have some non owls in this campaign. And the story is going to be that this town was always in the Feywild, but because of what's been happening with the releasing of the big bad end guy, they're now kind of like phased into Faerun proper. So it could be you could pick any forest in Faerun, and that's the forest that they start in. Okay,
Yep.
and so it could be a forest right outside of Waterdeep, and just going into town like on the south side is the Owl Town. If you leave the north side, walking through the mist, you're now in the Feywild, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, so what can I bring from the Feywild that would make sense as an NPC, but not seem out of place for this Owl Town that I have? And I ended up going with one of the 4E races for players from the Here's the Feywild book. I think I said this right. It's a Hamadryad.
I have no idea.
It's a Greek. It's from Greek legend or Greek lore.
Okay.
Um, yeah, Hama Dryad. Um,
I mean,
and it's
dryads
basically
are they're Greek, so it's almost
yeah.
certainly.
So normally dryads are just stuck to a little forest or town,
Yeah.
and they look
Yep.
like a deer person, half girl, half deer. You want
Well,
to hear my human mating call? I'm so wasted. I'm so wasted.
I did
Um,
in D&D, like dryads, they look like tree women.
yeah. Uh, so this basically what a hamadryad is. They look like tree women, but they're just very beautiful humans or very beautiful elves. And a lot of their special abilities are to basically seduce people just by looking even hotter.
Yep.
Um, but I figured, okay, I can work a hamadryad into this setting as well, and have them be the druid sage thing. Like they're the ones that grew the town. They're the ones that kind of help settle this town
Sure.
and make
Yeah.
it what it is. So they now have more of a connection as to like why are the trees dying? Kind of issue. So it was interesting watching new characters kind of like appear as I was putting this all together.
Yeah. Yeah, that is one of the fun things about world building is I mean, you do get to create your own little setting, and as you start creating things, you end up having to create more things. So, I mean, it's true. I ran the second adventure of my new Hobtown campaign, as it were, and I had all the maps laid out. I had the steps taken to get the players to where they're currently at. And now I have to create a couple dozen NPCs, and then the players did a few things this past weekend that's going to cause me to have to create a few more things that were unexpected. So I have so much writing I have to get done over the next couple of weeks, and honestly, I'm looking so forward to it.
Yeah, a lot of this is like I don't want to be creating it like the week before, which I probably will be, knowing me.
Yeah,
Um,
you
but
can
I
take
want to
all
get
this.
as much
Go ahead.
of it done ahead of time as I can.
Yep.
Like I don't have to spec out the dungeons or anything yet, but I do have the first couple encounters built. But I want to have like all of chapter 2 done, in the meantime.
Yeah. I was very, very prepared for when I started running this new campaign because I spent a couple of months getting all the maps together and getting everything together. So the first game session, I was able to run everything. It flowed smoothly. The second game session, I was able to run everything smoothly, although I had to do a few days worth of writing to get everything down. Now they're actually getting into the meat of things, and I'm going to have to do a bit more work. But I've never felt stressed doing it because it's my world, and I just feel very comfortable putting it all together.
Yeah.
I actually got to introduce the well. So I think I talked about it on one of the previous podcasts, sort of what I had done, where I time warped them 600 years into the future. They landed in different bodies, so they're the souls of their original characters in a new. They're in new bodies, they're new classes, new races, etc. and
Mhm.
they knew they were going to have to go and talk to a previous NPC they had known to get information of what the fuck is going on with them. But I don't think they really thought too much about the bodies they landed in. Yeah,
Okay.
the bodies they landed in had a history. These were people. So now they're starting to find out all of the information or bits and pieces of information about the bodies they are currently in. One of the bodies they landed in is cursed with lycanthropy.
Okay.
Let's see. One of them is a noble. I'm trying. Some of them I can't say too much about. One of them is famous in a city of slavers for having killed slavers. One of them is a member of an order of monks that kill people. It's mercy, the mercy monks, and
Okay.
the other one he doesn't know a whole lot about his history as of yet, but he's a warlock, so he got to sort of talk to his patron, which was kind of
Okay.
fun. So, but it's just fun dropping more bombshells upon bombshells multiple weeks in a row here. And my players are like they're fucking loving it. The campaign is honestly, I'm only a couple weeks in, but this is absolutely one of the best ones I've ever put together. At least it feels that way to me.
You gonna put it together for real and sell it for money?
That'll never happen. This wouldn't
Oh,
work. This wouldn't work doing it that way because they're playing the same characters they played for 5 or 6 years. Like
it's
it's the new thing for them using something that's familiar.
just gonna go back and write that first. You'll be fine.
Yeah. All right. So everybody, you get to run your campaign. You have to run this for 5 or 6 years, and then you have to do it again in a new setting with new characters that are the same characters. All right, you got that? Good.
That's the one issue I ran into is like this with this Al campaign. I was like, well, if I do sell this on DM's Guild, which is what the plan was, do I want to just restrict it to owls, or should I, uh, open it up for like normal, you know, you can be any race you want kind of thing.
If
And
yeah,
I did. That's where I came to the idea of like, the town is kind of like in between realities at the moment. And
you could
if
do
you
either
do
one.
show,
Either one
yeah,
works, I think.
if you do show up as like a group of like human adventurers, your ambassadors from whatever local town is there
Yeah.
to kind of like meet the owls and you
Uh,
know
If
kick
if
off the
you
story that way.
if you had forced everyone to be Alkin, I don't think it would matter.
No, and I'm definitely going to mention that is the preferred way of playing this
Yeah. Yeah, and
because
if you
I
do
did,
release it, put that in the
yeah,
notations. It's preferred if everyone plays Alkin, but if they don't want
I
to,
did see on Reddit a while ago too during the 2 week break that I was on that there are a lot of DMs out there who will not let players choose Aarakocra or any other race that can fly
hey,
innately because it just breaks the game for them and they can't work their way around it.
be a
And
better DM.
I think I mentioned this too in the previous podcast. It's just like I've been running into design challenges too. We're like, okay, well, what do I do since they all can fly and I design a town around them being able to fly?
Yep.
It's I gotta design. Okay, what if they can't fly? How do they do that? Um, like I know like I want to have a giant underground fortress with a huge ravine cut through it. Well, they can just fly over the ravine. Won't be as easy as that. But how does then non-flyers get over that? Should I even address that?
No,
You know,
that is truly a design challenge. If
yeah,
your campaign is all owls, then you don't have to think about that. But if you're allowing anything outside of that, there must be an answer for it.
yeah.
It's funny you'd mentioned that. Like I just started reading this book that I picked up Second and Charles the other day called "Complete Kobold Guide to Game Design," and it definitely goes into specific things, exactly like what you're talking about. You know, you have to think of multiple. You have to think of things that other people aren't thinking of. The players aren't having to think of shit like that, but person writing it, the designer, you have to try to be a step ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I'm never going to design an encounter for but two fireballs made it easy. You just,
Yeah. Fuck you. Fireball
I
makes a
don't
lot of
care.
things easy. Oh, I did want to mention. So I only had one fucking encounter in my campaign this weekend. That was it. Like one fight the whole damn time. It's just all role playing. And the one fight I had was just something I decided to design and throw in there for fun.
Hmm.
So they're traveling along between two cities. It's almost night, and this giant wave of smoke starts coming up behind them. And coming out of the smoke is a carriage pulled by two nightmares. And so they start fighting with the nightmares, and they keep hearing cackling coming from within the carriage. And mind you, this carriage, it's smoking, its wheels are on fire, and every so often it throws out like a radius fire attack. So they end up defeating the two nightmares, and the rogue jumps up on top of the carriage. And on my next turn, he gets hit by a pseudopod. So
Okay.
they quickly figured out that there's nobody inside the carriage. The carriage itself is the threat. So
Hmm.
it was just a weird little design I made. I refer to it as the Devil's Carriage. They started doing a little bit of research into it, and it's just a local legend, like the fucking headless horseman or something like that. Every once in a while, on a dark night, between these two cities, this thing goes screaming down the road, eating travelers.
That's a nice idea.
It worked out really well. My players loved it, and I had a lot of fun writing it. Yeah, it wasn't super powerful or something. It was a good challenge for a group of fourth levels.
I would love to see more of that too, like mimics uh, that are like transforming into unicorns and
Mhm.
like going out and like just like being mystical and like people are chasing after them and then they finally have the person like get up close and like pet them and like pet their mane and then their hand gets stuck to the mane and you're like what and then it's just like the horse like from like right above the legs opens up and it's just the mouth and like rah, 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 rah.
Yep. Yeah, mind you, this thing was not a mimic. It was actually from hell, as it were. Oh,
Yeah.
my campaign's saying it doesn't really have hell, but it would be the equivalent thereof.
Speaking of animals that eat people in horrifying manners, um, my daughter, I was playing with her tonight, and she has this little stuffed, uh, soft fuzzy bunny that she named Shampoo, a little
Okay,
pink bunny.
that's cute.
Eh, It's adorable. I always play with it with her, and like I make him move around. And at this point in time, I was talking to the cat who was in the laundry basket, attacking everything he could,
Yeah.
and um, she was like, the bunny's gonna attack the kitty. I was like, no, bunnies don't attack other people. I was like, well, there's that one bunny that attacks other people. She's like, what bunny attacks other people? I was like, don't worry about it. And she just kept like nagging me to like learn about this bunny that attacked people. So I was like, all right, here, let me open it. So I open up
Sharp, pointy
YouTube.
teeth. It'll bite you.
I op- I
Yeah.
open up YouTube. I load the scene up for Monty Python and Holy Grail, that stupid rabbit outside the cave. And I hand her the phone, and she's just glued to the whole thing where they're walking up to the cave, and sharp, pointy teeth, and all that good stuff. And then the
Look,
bunny
mate,
shows
it'll
up.
bite your freaking head off. It's got sharp, pointy teeth. Look at the bones, man.
She sees the bunny, and she goes, "Aw, he's cute." And then the guy walks out, and the bunny lunges and bites off the guy's head. And then she just starts cackling and with laughter.
Of course she does.
And,
Oh my
and then she went back and she like replayed it like 3 times.
god.
And then
Of course she did. She is
I was like, "No,
definitely your child.
let the thing play out." And she's like, okay. And then like everybody rushes the bunny, and she's just laughing and laughing, and everyone getting mauled to death by this bunny. Yeah,
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, she's definitely your child.
yeah.
Ah,
Killer bunnies.
yep. Usagi Yojimbo. All
Well,
right,
I still want to play that.
I think we've done enough. Peace.
Have we? We haven't done the spell thing that you wanted to bring in, the
No,
spell
no.
section.
No, no, I don't wanna read spells. I don't
Come
actually have
on,
I
teach
don't have
teach me
I
a
don't have my I don't have my player's handbook here.
teach me a spell.
Magic Missile.
What does it do? Never heard of
1d4
it.
yeah, 1d4 plus 1 damage per missile. I think when you cast it, it does 3 missiles. It's first level spell. It's evocation. Does force damage. It's good.
Oh,
It's a good
what
spell.
happens when I cast at level 5?
Don't make me math this shit. I'm not
And
doing
that's
math. I do math on
and
Saturdays.
and that's the crux of magic missiles. No one knows how many missiles you have to cast at level like above 2.
Well, not off the top of my head. If I looked at it, I think you get 1 extra missile for every level above first.
All right,
So
so how
that
many
would
missiles
that
at
would
level 5?
that would be 4 extra missiles, so 7.
We had to spend like 15 minutes every time Shelly cast magic missile at, like
Oh.
level 8.
I'm pretty familiar with it. I play a lot of wizards and stuff. I always carry around wands of magic missile, of which I tend to unload the entire thing all at once, and it throws 9 missiles.
Yep,
And
it's
then
good.
occasionally it blows up.
Occasionally,
Whatever.
not always.
Yeah, it's a cheap magic item. I can get another one.
What is the magic item you want me to get? You said staff of flame.
Staff of Fire is pretty good. Yeah.
Staff of fire.
Are you talking about for the simulacrum?
Yeah,
I think it's Staff of Fire.
staff of fire.
Yeah, it lets you cast walls of fire. I think it lets you do
Oh, it's
fireball.
blue.
What do you mean it's blue?
It's a blue magic item.
What the fuck is a blue magic item?
It's rare.
Oh, well, yeah, it's a rare item.
Yeah, I need green items.
Oh, you just want uncommon items?
Yeah.
Get a wand of magic missile.
Pew 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 pew.
I think it's uncommon.
I don't think it is.
It might be rare also.
I think all the things that cast first level spells and above are all rare. Yeah,
Eh,
it's rare.
Oh well. All right, guys,
And it
we're
has
out.
7 charges.
Bye,
So it should
Craig.
cast 9. Okay, that makes sense. All right, goodbye, Craig. It was nice meeting you again.
Yeah, hopefully you did your job right, you piece of shit.
Yeah, if you don't, I'm replacing you with
No, we're
Geart
not. No,
permanently.
no, we're not. We're never replacing Craig. We've
I'm
tried.
replacing. I'm gonna replace him in my heart.
That's fair. Bye, Craig.
I'll I'll
Bye,
buy a
Chris.
real service and like a real recording software and do this like real professionals, and not just the crazy people that we are at 2 a.m. on a Monday morning
On
recording this
Dis
crap
on Discord.
through Discord.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. Check us out on Facebook at
There's no at in Facebook. It's just facebook.com/Grumpy Dungeon Masters.
and on Twitter
That'd be at Grumpy_DMs,
and on Instagram.
at Grumpy Dungeon Masters.
And also be sure to follow us on Twitch.
Twitch.tv/Grumpy Dungeon Masters, where we play Rime of the Frostmaiden every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Fuck yeah.